Chosen one. Listen carefully. What you're about to hear is not random, and it's not entertainment. This message found you on purpose. It was summoned by your spirit and aligned by divine timing. You didn't stumble here by mistake. Heaven knows exactly what it's doing and when. And right now, this is one of those moments when your soul is being called to attention. Because the truth is, recognizing another chosen one isn't just about connection. It's about activation. It's about knowing when God is sending someone into your life for a purpose beyond casual conversation. This is spiritual strategy. This is alignment. And it matters more now than ever. See, you've been walking a narrow road. Many won't understand you, and most won't recognize what you carry. But God does. And so does the spiritual realm. You've been set apart since before you even had language to explain it. You've survived storms others didn't see. You've been tested in silence, refined in isolation. And now, you're awakening. Your spirit is tuning in. You're beginning to notice what you used to overlook. This message isn't just about seeing the chosen ones around you. It's about finally seeing yourself clearly. Because when you recognize someone who carries the same fire you do, something in you activates. Your spirit responds. The frequency sinks. The veil lifts. And you realize you were never alone. But let's be real. The enemy has worked overtime to keep you from this kind of realization, to make you question what you feel, to drown your instincts in doubt. Because when chosen ones find each other, their power multiplies. Their voices get louder. Their presence shakes the spiritual landscape. So I need you to lean in right now. There are signs. There are signals. There are sacred clues that the Holy Spirit leaves for those who are paying attention. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to recognize another chosen one when they show up in your life. Before we go further, pause with me. Take a breath. If your spirit is already resonating with this word, drop 777 in the comments. That's not just a number, it's a prophetic symbol of divine alignment and spiritual awakening. When you type it, you're not typing for me. You're signaling to heaven that you're ready to see what God wants you to see. You're saying, I'm tuned in, I'm awake, I'm listening. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and tap the bell. This channel is not for the crowd, it's for the called. These messages are your compass. They're sent to strengthen your walk and sharpen your discernment. Now, as someone who's walked this journey a long time, let me speak to you plainly. Your gift is real. Your calling is serious, and your time is now. Let's go deeper. Let us uncover the 5 sacred signs that you're in the presence of another chosen one, and why those encounters aren't random. They're revelation. This is your moment. Let's begin. The sacred journey of the chosen one. Chosen one, before you can recognize another soul like you must understand your own sacred journey. This path you're walking, it's not an ordinary one. It never has been. From the moment your soul entered this world, you were marked. Not by man, not by circumstance, but by the hand of God. And whether you knew it or not, your life has carried weight far beyond what others could ever imagine. This is why you've always felt different, misunderstood, set apart. Not better than others, but called in a way most people can't comprehend. You were born into a spiritual battle that's been raging long before your arrival. And God, in His wisdom, placed something inside of you that couldn't be extinguished. A spark, a light, a frequency that carries the fingerprint of the divine. That's why your journey has never been easy. Let's tell the truth. While others around you coasted, you climbed. While they celebrated comfort, you wrestled in the dark with questions that didn't have easy answers. You felt storms on the inside long before they appeared on the outside. And no one really knew what it cost you just to keep going. But here's the thing. Those trials weren't meant to destroy you. They were designed to reveal you. Because God doesn't send his strongest into the safest places. He sends them into the fiercest fire, where the light is needed most. You've been walking through that fire, haven't you? And yet here you are, refined, not ruined, changed, not crushed, strengthened in silence, and now awakening in power. And while the world labeled you as too quiet, too sensitive, too intense, heaven saw a warrior in training. That childhood loneliness, that teenage identity confusion, those betrayals that cut deeper than you let anyone see, that wasn't just misfortune. It was God's way of pulling you out from the crowd to prepare you for a purpose that required separation. Because here's what most people won't understand. Before the chosen one is ever revealed, they must be hidden. God doesn't elevate without first protecting. And so, many times, he kept you isolated. Not because you weren't ready, but because the world wasn't ready for you. He needed to shape you in private before he could release you in public. That's why your wilderness was long. That's why your silence was necessary. In that hidden place, you weren't just waiting, you were becoming someone who could discern spirits. Becoming someone who could carry authority without needing validation. Becoming someone who could be trusted with influence because you had already mastered solitude. And now the veil is lifting. The awareness is growing. You're starting to see. You're beginning to notice the patterns, the divine setups. The moments when someone enters a room and your spirit leaps before a word is exchanged. You're sensing when something feels off, even if it looks right. That's not paranoia. That's prophetic perception. Chosen one, you weren't just called to see the world, you were called to see into it. But here's where it gets deeper. This journey isn't just about self-awareness. It's about divine recognition. God is not raising up isolated warriors anymore. He's raising up connected ones. He's awakening you to see not only who you are, but who you're aligned with. Because the time is coming. And for many of you, it's already here, when your path will intersect with another chosen one. Someone who has walked their own wilderness, fought their own battles, and carries the same kingdom frequency you do. And in that moment, your spirit will know. Because when two chosen ones cross paths, the atmosphere changes. It's not just emotional, it's spiritual. The Holy Spirit bears witness. There's no need to perform. No need to explain your scars. The recognition is instant, divine, unmistakable. But you can't recognize what you haven't first understood in yourself. That's why this moment matters. Because the more you understand the weight you carry, the more equipped you are to discern it in someone else. Let me say this plainly. The enemy's greatest fear is not a single chosen one rising. It's multiple chosen ones finding each other. Why? Because when you unite, your power multiplies. Your lights combine. Your clarity sharpens. You pray differently. You war differently. You walk into rooms and the atmosphere shifts, not because of arrogance, but because of divine assignment. That's why you've been under attack. That's why you were isolated. The enemy tried to keep you blind to your own value, so you'd never be able to see it in someone else. But that era ends now. You are awakening to who you really are. And soon, you will begin to recognize those sent to walk beside you. Not everyone around you is chosen. But when a true chosen one enters your life, your spirit will know. Not because of personality, not because of status, but because of alignment in the unseen. So remember this. The journey of the chosen one is sacred. It is painful. It is beautiful. And it is necessary. Everything you've survived was part of the preparation to recognize the divine in others. Your training wasn't for nothing. Your storms weren't wasted. You've been shaped for this moment. And now that you know who you are, it's time to start seeing who else was sent. Let's step into the first sacred sign. First step, Energy recognition. Chosen one, before you ever hear a word, before you know someone's name, your spirit already knows who they are. That's the first sacred step to recognizing another chosen one. Energy recognition. Because in the spiritual realm, energy never lies. You can fake a smile. You can speak in the right tone. You can quote scripture or play the role. But you cannot fake the vibration of your soul. Not in the presence of someone who carries divine discernment. And you, chosen one, were born with that discernment. You felt this before, even if you didn't always understand what it meant. You've entered rooms and immediately felt peace or pressure. You've stood next to someone and felt a calm assurance wash over you, like your spirit was being reminded of something ancient, something deep. And you've also encountered people who triggered tension, even though they hadn't done anything outwardly wrong. That's energy. That's spiritual language. That's the Holy Spirit giving you insight before your natural mind has caught up. You see, chosen ones don't recognize each other by looks or titles or outer presentation. They recognize each other by the resonance, a frequency, a signal, a vibration that's been fine-tuned by heaven itself. And when you feel that resonance, when someone's presence feels like an echo of your own, it's not just a good feeling. It's a sign, a confirmation. God designed His chosen ones to be able to find each other in a crowded world by spiritual signature. Not through surface-level small talk, but through a divine pulse, a vibration that matches what you carry inside. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt safe? Not just emotionally, but spiritually, as if your soul let out a breath it didn't know it was holding. That's not coincidence. That's the signal. That's what happens when two chosen frequencies align. It's not loud. It's not forced. It's not dramatic. In fact, it often feels natural, like two rivers meeting and flowing in the same direction. There's no striving, no confusion, no pressure to be impressive, just alignment. On the flip side, you've also likely felt the disconnection, when someone speaks all the right words, but something deep in your spirit feels unsettled. Their tone might be soft, their smile might be sweet, but your discernment picks up on the disconnect. That's not judgment, it's clarity. Chosen one, you're not just sensitive, you're spiritually tuned. And the enemy has tried to make you question that, to dull your instincts, to make you ignore the gentle nudges of the Holy Spirit by telling you you're overreacting. But you're not. In fact, let me affirm you right now. Your gift is real. Your intuition is sacred. Your perception is heaven's tool. And recognizing another chosen one begins with trusting that inner signal. This is also why you've been drawn to certain people without knowing why. Something about them just felt right. You didn't need a long conversation. You didn't need their resume. You just knew, on a spiritual level, that they carried light, that they carried purpose, that they had been through fire and still radiated faith. You may not even be able to explain it in words, but your spirit recognized theirs. Now hear me clearly. This doesn't mean every peaceful connection is divine, or that every comforting energy equals destiny. But when you combine discernment, peace, and spiritual recognition, it forms a confirmation. And that's when you lean in, not with blind trust, but with sacred curiosity. Pay attention to how you feel after being around someone. Are you drained or filled? Are you anxious or settled? Do you feel scattered or clear? When you encounter another chosen one, their presence doesn't deplete you. It doesn't confuse you. It doesn't require you to shrink. Instead, it expands you. It confirms your calling. It sharpens your awareness. And you feel more aligned, not less. That's the first sign. That's how the Spirit speaks. And here's something even deeper. The reason energy is such a powerful identifier is because chosen ones are not just people. They are portals. Carriers of divine assignments. Each chosen one is a beacon broadcasting God's frequency. And when those frequencies meet, the atmosphere shifts. The enemy knows this. That's why he attacks your perception. That's why he tries to desensitize you with noise, with busyness, with toxic connections that leave your spirit dull. Because if you ever fully trust what you feel, if you ever truly believe the weight of your own frequency, you'll start seeing others more clearly. You'll start aligning faster. You'll move with confidence. So let this be your reminder today. Trust the resonance. It's not imaginary. It's not emotionalism. It's divine design. Energy recognition is how chosen ones find their tribe. It's how scattered warriors regroup. It's how you recognize your reinforcements when they arrive. And when they do arrive, when that alignment clicks, don't rush it. Don't overthink it. Don't force it. Just stay open. Let the spirit lead the connection. Let the peace grow naturally. Let the light do what it always does, find itself in another. Because chosen ones don't compete. They complete. They confirm. They strengthen. They reflect. And it all begins with the invisible language of energy. Chosen one, now that you understand the first sacred sign, let's go deeper. There's another dimension of recognition waiting for you, one that echoes through pain, trials, and triumphs. In the next part, we'll explore how shared spiritual battles and victories are another undeniable sign that you've encountered someone just like you, someone forged in the same fire. Stay tuned. The next layer is about to unfold. Second step: shared spiritual battles and victories. Chosen one, now that you've come to understand the first sign, recognizing energy, it's time to uncover something even deeper. Something that can't be faked, forced, or fabricated. Something sacred. Shared spiritual battles and victories. You see, when you meet another chosen one, there's a strange familiarity that goes beyond personality or lifestyle. It's like their journey echoes yours. Their story, while different in the details, carries the same weight, the same fire, the same refinement. This isn't a coincidence, it's confirmation, because God often allows His chosen ones to walk through similar valleys, not to punish, but to prepare, not to isolate, but to align. Let's be real for a moment. You didn't get here through ease or applause. You were shaped by hardship, refined by fire. You've wrestled with shadows and cried out in silence. You've been betrayed, overlooked, and misunderstood. And yet you're still standing. Not just standing, rising. And when you meet someone who has walked through their own dark night of the soul, someone who carries scars, not as signs of shame, but as proof of survival, your spirit knows. There's no need for long explanations, no need to relive every detail, because in a moment, something clicks. You see the battle behind their eyes and recognize it. They've faced what you've faced. Maybe not in the same setting, maybe not with the same people, but the spiritual war, the identity crisis, the attacks from childhood, the loneliness in leadership, the emotional warfare wrapped in relationships. It matches. And when that happens, something unlocks between you and them. That's what shared spiritual battles do. They create a divine familiarity, not just in memory, but in spirit. And chosen one, this is why you can't ignore it. Because it's more than connection. It's a signal that God is sending you a reinforcement. Someone who understands the cost. Someone who's not confused by your depth or shaken by your warfare. Someone who has also had to learn to pray when no one was listening, trust when nothing made sense, and walk forward when all they wanted to do was disappear. You can't fake that kind of understanding. And that's why when you meet another chosen one, There's a bond that forms almost instantly. It's the bond of the battle-tested. But it doesn't stop there, because with shared battles also come shared victories. You'll find that the people God aligns you with in this season aren't just those who've been through something. They're people who've overcome. People who've emerged from the fire with faith still intact. People who've made the decision, time and time again, to choose purpose over pain, growth over comfort, obedience over ego. And when those kinds of people come together, the result is powerful. There's mutual encouragement. There's spiritual strategy. There's the kind of compassion that can only come from someone who knows what it's like to bleed and heal. Chosen one, don't miss this. God will often confirm who's for you by letting their past speak to your present. Their testimony carries the exact encouragement your spirit needs. Their survival mirrors the battles you thought you faced alone. Their wisdom becomes a guidepost, and their strength becomes a mirror, reminding you that you are stronger than you think. That's why the enemy fights so hard to keep chosen ones disconnected. He wants you to believe that you're the only one going through this, that no one understands, that isolation is your destiny. But it's not. It was only your preparation. And now? You're stepping into the season of recognition, of divine connection, of spiritual alignment. And those connections will be marked by stories. Not stories of surface-level success, but of sacred struggle, of spiritual battles that turned into breakthroughs. These shared experiences create something holy. They create trust. A trust that doesn't need perfection. A trust that doesn't demand constant explanation. A trust that's built on this quiet truth. I see you, because I've been there too. Have you ever sat across from someone and felt like you didn't need to explain your pain? Like they already understood the invisible warfare you've fought? That's no accident. That's spiritual alignment in action. It's what happens when battle-tested believers find one another. And let me tell you something. Those are the people you want in your life. Not just to cheer you on, but to remind you who you are when life tries to make you forget. These people become spiritual mirrors, not to flatter you, but to reflect the glory that's been refined in you. This is also why it's so important to share your story when God tells you to. Because your survival wasn't just for you. It was for someone else's recognition. There are other chosen ones looking for someone who's made it through what they're still walking through. And when you speak, something awakens in them. Something shifts. Your transparency becomes their transformation. Your scars become signposts that say, you can make it too. So don't hide your journey. Don't minimize what you've overcome. Don't bury the battles that brought you here. Because those battles are part of your divine fingerprint. And when you meet another chosen one, those shared fingerprints unlock divine connection. This is why the second step, shared battles and victories, is so powerful. Because when chosen ones unite, they don't just feel understood, they feel strengthened. And from that strength comes strategy, vision, breakthrough. So if you've felt that deep, unspoken recognition with someone, if your story echoes theirs, if their presence speaks to your pain and your purpose, lean in. God might be showing you that this isn't just a good connection, it's a divine one. Let this be your reminder. You're not the only one. You never were. Others have walked this road. Others carry light like you. And now, you're starting to find each other. Next, we'll explore a sacred transition that many chosen ones experience. The season of solitude, and why that hidden place often leads to the most powerful spiritual activation of all. Stay with me. It gets even deeper from here. Third step, solitude, activation, and spiritual awakening. Chosen one, let's talk about a phase that most people misunderstand. A season that feels painful at first, but is actually sacred. Solitude. Before you recognized your own power, before you awakened to your spiritual identity, you likely went through a period of deep isolation. It felt like disconnection. People fell away, doors closed, friendships shifted. Environments you once found comfort in suddenly felt foreign, even suffocating. It wasn't rejection, it was divine preparation. You weren't being abandoned, you were being set apart. This is something almost every chosen one experiences. A time when God removes the noise so you can finally hear Him clearly. When the world grows silent, the whispers of heaven grow louder. That's when your gifts begin to stir. That's when clarity starts to replace confusion. That's when you realize you were never meant to blend in. Chosen one, hear this. Solitude is where God activates what He placed in you before the foundation of the world. And make no mistake, this season isn't punishment, it's protection. God hides what He values. He covers what He's cultivating. When you were alone, you were never unloved. You were in the hands of the master craftsman, being shaped for your assignment. Think about it. In the Bible, Moses was called to deliver a nation. But before that, he spent 40 years in the wilderness. David was anointed king. But before he wore the crown, he was isolated in caves. Even Jesus, after being baptized, was led into the wilderness by the Spirit before stepping into public ministry. Solitude is heaven's classroom. It's in that silence where your discernment sharpens, where your vision clears, where your ears tune to the frequency of heaven. That's when you begin to distinguish between what's true and what's simply popular, between what's urgent and what's eternal. But let's be honest, it doesn't feel divine when you're in it. It feels heavy, quiet, even lonely at times. And if you're not careful, you'll start to believe the lie that something is wrong with you, that you're behind, that you're being punished. But God never wastes time. He redeems it. He uses solitude to separate you from distractions, so He can reveal who you really are. It's in that place where you shed old identities. You break cycles. You confront fears. You unlearn patterns that kept you small. You begin to move differently, not from ego, but from alignment. And the most powerful thing happens. Your inner world gets louder than your outer one. You start hearing God's voice more clearly. You begin receiving dreams, visions, intuitive nudges. You sense when to move, when to pause, when to speak, and when to remain silent. The veil lifts, the world slows, and you, chosen one, begin to walk in spiritual awareness. This is what we call awakening, not just emotional inspiration, not just positive thinking, but true spiritual awakening, the kind that shifts how you live, how you see, how you respond. You stop reacting out of trauma and start responding out of revelation. And here's what's wild. People around you start to notice. They don't know what's changed, but they feel it. Your presence feels different. Your words carry weight. Your energy feels stable, strong, rooted in something they can't name. That's because you've become anchored. You've stepped into alignment with heaven. And when a chosen one enters that level of clarity, everything around them begins to shift, not just people, but atmospheres. But listen closely. Just because you've awakened doesn't mean the solitude is over immediately. Sometimes God keeps you hidden a little longer, not because you're not ready, but because the assignment you're being prepared for is. And the longer you stay in the sacred stillness, the deeper the roots grow. Chosen one, your power doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from the quiet place where heaven trains warriors in silence. And that's exactly who you are becoming, a warrior with divine clarity and spiritual precision. But here's the beauty. Solitude is a season, not a sentence. It doesn't last forever. It's temporary. A cocoon phase before the emergence. And when God calls you out, you won't come out the same. You'll walk with a new authority, a calm confidence. You'll no longer seek permission to be who you are. You'll walk in it, authentically, boldly, silently powerful. And when that time comes, God will begin to align you with others who've also emerged from their solitude. They'll recognize the fire in your eyes because they've stared down the same darkness. They'll sense the weight of your presence, not because you're trying to impress, but because you've been pressed and refined. This is why it's the third sign of recognizing another chosen one. When you've both walked the wilderness, when you've both been hidden and refined, there's a mutual understanding that words can't fully explain. You see it in each other's stillness. You feel it in the lack of ego. You hear it in the clarity of conviction. Because chosen ones who've been through solitude don't need to be loud. They don't need the spotlight. They don't need to prove themselves. Their power is quiet, but unmistakable. So if you're in that hidden season right now, be still. Don't resist it. Don't rush it. Let it do its holy work. God is preparing you not just for visibility, but for impact, for legacy, for connection with others who are equally refined and ready. Chosen one, your solitude was never about isolation. It was about activation. And once you step into that awakened state, you'll begin to see with different eyes. You'll stop chasing approval and start walking in purpose. You'll begin to attract others who have also walked the narrow road and carry the fragrance of the secret place. This is the foundation of divine connection, not shared hobbies, not surface alignment, but shared awakening. And when you've been awakened in the hidden place, no darkness can ever put you back to sleep. Let's go deeper. Now that you've understood solitude, it's time to explore a truth that will shift how you speak, think, and act from this point forward. The spiritual law of instant manifestation, and why chosen ones experience accelerated karma, both good and corrective. You're ready? Let's move forward. Fourth step: divine acceleration and instant manifestation. Chosen one. What if I told you that the reason things are shifting so quickly in your life is because heaven has moved you into a season of divine acceleration? This next sign is one of the most powerful confirmations that you're walking in alignment, and one of the clearest ways to recognize another chosen one. Their manifestations are fast, their consequences are instant. Let's break that down. As a chosen one, your life is not governed by normal timing. When you're truly aligned with your purpose, spiritual law responds to you faster. What others sow and reap over months or years, you begin to experience almost immediately. And that's both a blessing and a responsibility. You've probably noticed this already. Maybe you spoke something casually, and within days it happened. Maybe you held a specific intention in your heart, and suddenly doors began opening. Or maybe you released a negative thought or word in frustration, and watched as things fell apart almost instantly. This isn't random. It's not coincidence. It's divine cause and effect. It's the universe, more accurately, the spiritual realm, mirroring back to you what's inside your spirit. You've reached a point where heaven takes your words seriously. And that means your thoughts, declarations, and even silent intentions carry weight. Let that sink in. Chosen ones are not like everyone else. You carry authority in the spirit. That's why your manifestations, positive or negative, come faster. God doesn't delay with you because you're on divine assignment. Your timeline has been accelerated to match the urgency of your calling. This is why it's so important to pay attention to what you speak, what you think, and what you allow to dwell in your heart. The spiritual realm is no longer treating you like a student. It's treating you like a steward. And when you recognize another chosen one, you'll often see this in their life too. They're people who seem to move quickly. Things shift around them rapidly. Their decisions carry ripple effects. Not because they're lucky, but because they're aligned. You'll also notice something else. They are careful with their words, not fearful, but intentional. They know that life and death are in the power of the tongue. They've lived long enough to see their own words build doors or burn bridges. They've watched blessings appear after a quiet moment of faith. And they've felt correction come swiftly after an act of disobedience. That's why this step is so important in recognizing another chosen one. Their manifestations are a mirror of their maturity. Because the truth is, spiritual acceleration is not just a gift, it's a test. Can you handle this level of power? Can you remain humble while holding that kind of influence? Can you stay aligned when your life starts moving faster than ever before? That's what divine acceleration demands. And this is what separates the truly awakened from those still playing with their gifts. Chosen ones who are ready for divine partnerships, who are truly walking in step with heaven, don't just manifest quickly. They manage responsibly. They know that every word is a seed. Every thought is a blueprint. Every action has a spiritual consequence. And because of that, they walk with intentionality, quiet strength, measured power. You can recognize them not just by what they say, but by what they don't say. They don't curse themselves with fear-based language. They don't entertain gossip. They don't speak recklessly. Their silence is often more powerful than someone else's shouting. Chosen one, you've likely felt this shift in your own life. Maybe you've noticed how the consequences of your actions have become sharper. Maybe you've seen how the people you bless begin to flourish. Or maybe you've realized that the slightest misalignment throws everything off, and God corrects you swiftly. This is not punishment, it's protection. God corrects His chosen quickly because He doesn't want you wandering too far from your path. He doesn't let you stay in toxic relationships too long. He won't let you sit in confusion for months. Why? Because the assignment on your life is urgent. The world needs what you carry. Heaven is invested in your obedience. That's why things move quickly now. Your time is sacred. Your impact is too great. And heaven has no interest in letting you waste another season. So when you meet someone who's also in this place of divine acceleration, recognize the weight they carry. Listen to how they speak. Watch how they respond to shifts. They don't panic, they pivot. They don't chase, they align. And they don't over-explain. They let their fruit speak for itself. This is the fourth sign. Chosen ones are moving in manifestation flow. And when two chosen ones meet in this frequency, their manifestation power doesn't just add, it multiplies. Suddenly, ideas become reality. Visions gain traction. What used to take years now takes weeks. And the enemy hates it. That's why he works hard to distract you, to get you to speak doubt, to rehearse pain, to entertain unaligned people. Because he knows that if he can influence your words, he can influence your world. But no more. Now you know. You're moving with revelation. You're becoming more aware of the spiritual law that governs your life and the lives of those like you. So from this day forward, speak with precision, declare with faith, think with alignment, and move with purpose, because your voice shapes reality. Your thoughts shift timelines. Your spirit carries acceleration, and your alignment activates manifestation. This is the life of a chosen one, and the ones you'll recognize moving forward. They'll speak like you, pray like you, walk with the same urgency, carry the same grace. They won't always say much, but when they do, it'll move something in your spirit. Because their words won't come from ego, they'll come from authority. Chosen one, this is the fourth sacred step. Now let's step into the final sign, one that's unmistakable, undeniable, and divinely orchestrated. Let's talk about the signs, synchronicities, angel numbers, and divine markers that let you know without a doubt. You've encountered someone heaven sent. We go even deeper in the next part. Fifth step, signs, symbols, and sacred connection. Chosen one, by now your spirit has probably already begun confirming what your mind is still catching up to. That's what happens when divine truth resonates deep within. This fifth and final step to recognizing another chosen one is both mystical and unmistakable. Signs, symbols, and sacred connection. Let's be real. When God is involved, He leaves no confusion. When He orchestrates a divine meeting, He confirms it through patterns, synchronicities, and signs that your spirit can't ignore. You might not understand them immediately, but they carry a frequency that speaks directly to your soul. Maybe you've been seeing repeating numbers, 1011, 333, 777, on clocks, receipts, addresses. You weren't looking for them, but they keep finding you. These numbers are not coincidences. They're markers. Prophetic breadcrumbs from heaven to tell you you're on the right path. And often they appear just before or just after a significant spiritual encounter. Why? Because chosen ones are spiritually sensitive. We live with one foot in the physical world and one foot in the unseen. And because of that, God communicates with us not just through words, but through signs. And these signs? They don't just confirm your journey, they confirm your connections. When you meet another chosen one, heaven often sends confirmation that your spirits were aligned before your minds ever caught up. It could be in the form of déjà vu, a dream you had weeks before, suddenly making sense. A phrase you've been hearing internally, now spoken aloud by someone you just met. You realize, this isn't just chemistry. It's divine orchestration. There's a sacred click, and it's not just an emotional connection, it's spiritual. You feel known, seen, understood, and yet not overwhelmed. Instead, you feel grounded, centered, empowered. This is a holy connection, one God arranged long before you were aware of it. Sometimes it's subtle, other times it's overwhelming. But here's the key. The peace you feel is confirmation enough. God's presence always brings peace. Not necessarily comfort, not always ease, but a deep inner stillness that tells you, this is safe, this is right, this is divine. You'll often feel a pull in your spirit, a resonance that makes you want to lean in, listen deeper, and explore the connection further. You might not even know why, but something inside you knows that this person carries a piece of your spiritual puzzle. They may not look like you, talk like you, worship like you, but the frequency is undeniable, and the fruit in their life matches the spirit you carry in yours. Let me make this practical. Chosen ones recognize each other not by surface similarity, but by soul familiarity. Your souls speak a language deeper than words. There's a calm knowing, a mutual understanding. The Holy Spirit within you bears witness to the divine in them, and that's not wishful thinking. That's scripture. Romans 8:16 says, "The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God." That means your spirit knows what heaven knows, even before your mind does. So when you meet another chosen one, pay attention. Listen to the signs. Watch the patterns. Notice the divine winks that seem too perfect to be random. Here are a few common confirmations God may use to signal a sacred connection. Repeating numbers like 111, new beginnings, 333, divine protection, 777, completion and spiritual alignment. Dreams or visions before or after the meeting that highlight that person. Unexpected alignment of purpose, timing, or life experiences. Divine timing, meeting when you were least expecting but most in need. Peace that surpasses logic. Even if you don't fully know the person yet, your spirit rests in their presence. Chosen one. This step is important. Because when you understand how God confirms His alignments, you stop second-guessing every connection. You stop overthinking. You stop talking yourself out of what your spirit is clearly recognizing, and you start walking in faith-based discernment. This doesn't mean you rush into deep relationship with everyone you resonate with. No, Divine timing still requires divine pacing. But what it does mean is that when a connection carries peace, fruit, and divine signs, you can trust it. You can explore it. You can let God build it. Chosen ones are not meant to walk alone forever. Yes, there are seasons of isolation, but ultimately, God brings His warriors together, not just for comfort, but for collaboration. When two chosen ones connect through sacred recognition, something shifts. Heaven begins to move faster. Assignments start to align. Revelation flows. You begin to unlock greater clarity, deeper healing, and higher calling. Not because the other person completes you, but because their presence confirms what's already inside of you. This is why recognizing the sacred signs matters. And here's the most beautiful part. When you begin seeing divine markers like these in someone else's life, chances are they're seeing them in yours too. And that moment, when both spirits are aware, is one of the most holy encounters a chosen one can experience. You begin to co-labor in the spirit. You pray for each other. You sharpen each other. You protect each other. You push each other deeper into purpose, not by force, but by spiritual gravity. So don't ignore the signs. Don't downplay the sacred. When God is trying to show you that someone carries His light, He won't just whisper it. He'll surround you with it. And if you've seen the numbers, felt the peace, heard the confirmations, don't brush it off. Lean in. Listen. Let the Spirit speak. This is more than friendship. This is spiritual alignment. And when two chosen ones find each other in the right season, at the right frequency, with the right intention, the enemy loses ground. Because now it's not just one light, it's two. Not just one prayer warrior, but a force. You were never meant to do this alone. And now you're starting to recognize who was sent to walk beside you. We've now uncovered 5 sacred steps to recognizing another chosen one. But before we close, we must go one level deeper to what happens when chosen ones unite, rise, and become the force they were always meant to be. Let's move to the next part. The revelation continues. The power of unity among chosen ones. Chosen one, if the enemy's plan is isolation, then God's plan is alignment. You were never meant to walk this journey alone, not forever. Yes, solitude has its place. Yes, the wilderness was necessary, but isolation was always temporary, because chosen ones, when brought together in the right timing, become a spiritual force the enemy cannot contain. This is the final and perhaps most powerful truth in this journey of recognition. When chosen ones unite, their light multiplies. Their impact expands. Their assignment accelerates. It's not just addition, it's multiplication. Let's go back to the beginning for a moment. The enemy's first attack against many of us wasn't to take our life. It was to cut our connections. To convince us that no one could understand us. That we were too different, too deep, too intense. So we withdrew. We questioned. We settled into the belief that walking alone was the price of being chosen. But that was only half the story. Because once you've been refined, healed, and awakened, God begins to stir your spirit with a new urgency. Not just to walk strong, but to walk with others. Not just to be spiritually alive, but to be aligned. Chosen ones are strategic vessels. And when they meet, it's not just friendship. It's not just community. It's prophetic movement. It's kingdom strategy unfolding. When two chosen ones meet and recognize each other, the spiritual realm reacts. Darkness trembles. Heaven rejoices. Because it knows what that union can do. It knows that now the burden is shared. The vision is sharpened. The voice is amplified. You begin to realize you're not the only one with scars. You're not the only one who's prayed in the midnight hour. You're not the only one who's been called to carry fire. And when you see it in someone else, your own light grows stronger. This is the hidden strategy of heaven, to bring the warriors out of hiding and into unity. And make no mistake, Unity doesn't mean uniformity. God doesn't call everyone to be the same. In fact, it's the diversity of backgrounds, perspectives, and gifts that makes chosen ones such a powerful army. One may be a prophet, another a teacher. One may carry healing, another wisdom. And when these gifts are recognized, honored, and activated together, miracles happen. Walls fall, strongholds break, generational chains snap. That's the power of spiritual synergy. This is why the enemy fears your union. This is why he sends distractions, fake connections, and confusion. Because he knows if you ever find your true spiritual allies, people who pray like you, discern like you, and walk in authority like you, then the kingdom of darkness loses ground. Chosen one, you don't just need relationships, you need divine alignments. And those only happen when you've first learned to walk in wholeness. That's why God let you walk alone first, to heal you, to strengthen your identity, so that when he sent another chosen one your way, you wouldn't cling to them out of brokenness, but connect with them out of purpose. Because when the connection is pure, when it's not about validation, but about vibration, you can build something unshakable, something eternal, something kingdom. Imagine what happens when two chosen ones, both walking in their divine assignment, unite in prayer. Imagine when 3 or 4 come together and begin declaring heaven's agenda over their city, their families, their generation. That's not just encouragement, that's intercession at scale. Jesus said, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there in the midst of them." He didn't just say that to comfort us. He said it to equip us. When chosen ones gather, heaven gets louder. And here's what's beautiful. You'll know it when it happens. There won't be confusion. There won't be chaos. You won't have to force it. The recognition will be instant. The confirmation will be divine. The fruit will be peace, clarity, and momentum. It might start with a conversation, a shared vision, a simple, "I see you." But soon, you'll feel something unlocking. You'll pray differently, move differently, dream differently. Because chosen ones were never meant to just survive. They were meant to build. You're not just here to heal. You're here to create, to release heaven on earth through your voice, your gifts, your collaborations. That's why this moment matters. Because you're not just learning how to recognize another chosen one. You're being prepared to link arms with them, to advance, to occupy, to lead. And as you do, others will see your light and begin to awaken too. Some who were lost in confusion will gain direction just by being in your presence. Not because you tried to save them, but because your unity illuminated the way. This is the ripple effect of recognition. This is the beauty of chosen ones in divine alignment. So don't shy away when you feel the pull. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let fear talk you out of what heaven is confirming. You've walked the narrow road. You've survived the isolation. You've grown in silence. Now it's time to move in connection. Chosen one, your journey prepared you not just to stand alone, but to stand together. Let the world watch. Let heaven lead. Let the light within you find its reflection in others who've been walking beside you all along, on separate roads, through separate storms, but headed toward the same divine victory. You're not just meeting a person. You're meeting a prophetic partner. You're not just sharing a story. You're igniting a movement, and together you're going to shake the earth. Chosen one, you didn't find this message by chance. Your spirit was drawn here because something inside of you is awakening. You've walked the fires. You've survived the wilderness. And now, you're beginning to recognize the others who've been walking too. The 5 steps you've just heard aren't just information. They're activation. They're spiritual keys designed to sharpen your discernment and prepare you for divine alignment. You now know how to trust the energy your spirit picks up, how to see the hand of God in shared battles and victories, how to honor the season of solitude that birthed your awakening, how to walk with awareness in this time of divine acceleration, and how to follow the signs and sacred connections when heaven sends someone aligned with your purpose. So what do you do now? You walk boldly. You trust what you feel. You lean into what God is confirming. And most of all, you stay ready, because connections are coming. Destiny alignments are unfolding. And the more you trust your discernment, the more clearly you'll begin to move in power, in purpose, and in peace. This isn't just about recognizing someone else. It's about recognizing yourself and standing in the fullness of who God made you to be. So if this message has resonated with your spirit, drop 777 in the comments right now as a sign of divine alignment and spiritual awakening. Let heaven see your agreement. Let your future connections find your signal. And if you haven't yet, make sure you like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next word, the next insight, the next confirmation meant for your journey. We are no longer walking alone. We are rising together. And when chosen ones unite, the world will feel it. Until next time, stay aligned, stay discerning, and above all, stay chosen.